Hey everyone, it's Pat Mayo here. I just want to let you know we experienced a few audio hiccups this week. There was connection problems, so if I drop out or Bergerson drops out at some point, don't worry, the sound comes back. It's only going to be for like 2-3 seconds at a time, but it sucked when we were recording it. There's no way we could really fix it, so it was either scrap the entire show or let it go. We're going to let it go. Apologies. Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. OHL Classic DraftKings picks and preview. Joining me from FantasyGolfInsider.com, as he is wont to do on a bi-weekly basis, it's Jeff Bergerson. What's going on, dude?
Not too much, Pat. How are you doing?
Listen, I'm all right. We only got 2 more actual golf events to cover DraftKings-wise, so I want to win some cash on this so I can fund my awful NFL habit.
I do, too. It's been a good fall so far, so let's keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to let everyone out there know to give the show a like. That always goes a long way in helping us out. Also, if you have your favorite sleeper below $7,200, leave it in the comments section and leave your DraftKings name down there with it. When we move into our new studio, we're doing a big draw for a secret prize, and then we'll get you into that draw. I'm telling you, it's worth it. You want to get into it. So remember to do that. Also, I was talking to Matt Wiley, and if you subscribe to the Golflandia podcast, he's talking about doing a great thing where everyone goes down for the Barbasol to Lexington, Kentucky. If you're not from there, it's probably a hard one to say. But to have sort of like a daily fantasy golf conference. Now, I mingle between worlds, whether it's football, whether it's golf, whether it's season-long football, MMA, all that. No one is better out there than the DFS golf community. Full of just great people. People don't get too mad when you have bad picks either, unlike every other place. At the majors, when people are, really into it, they get super upset when you just don't randomly pick a golf winner. But, I think that's something to go check out. So listen to this week's Golflandia, and you can get some more details from him. But, he's trying to get corporate sponsorship, this kind of thing, play rounds of golf, a pro-am. If it's just us hanging out, having a few beers and watching golf, it's good enough for me. I'm sure it's good enough for a lot of people, too. But like I said, just download Golflandia, check that out. It's a really good show this week, and they have some Euro stuff on there, too. Jeff, you guys have some Euro stuff on the site, right?
We do. We have an entire Euro package where we have a preview, all the tools updated for Euro Tour, and it's an exciting time on the Euro Tour because we got the race for Dubai, so we're seeing a lot of the top names over there. And then once PGA goes away this fall, we're still going to have Euro Golf. So,
how long does Euro Golf go for?
It goes throughout the rest of the year. I think the last event is mid-December. Then we get like a 2-week Christmas break. Then it starts up again, and so does the Tournament of Champions that first week in January. So there's a very small period of time where we don't have any golf options during the entire year.
Yeah, see, I'm just glad I don't cover Euro Golf because of that. I'm looking very forward to a 5-week golf absence. In terms of doing the show, I might play some Euro Golf, but no shows for that. That's really intriguing to me.
What we do during that period of time, and you know this well, Pat, is we pull together all of our data from winning GPP rosters over the course of the entire season, and Zach puts together 3 really nice articles kind of summarizing exactly what it took, the different variables, different strategies to win these GPPs, and we released those in December as kind of something to keep our minds on DFS golf and to plan for GPPs next year, because over the past few years the trends have changed tremendously from when we started doing this. So we need to be on top of those type of things and gain that edge over everybody else who doesn't know them.
All right, well, let's get into this week, and I want to talk about GPP strategy for a moment because Jimmy Miles and I were discussing this on the show last week that Patrick Cantlay was shaping up to be the most owned golfer of the week, and I believe that he was. He was the highest in fan share tags. Everyone was on Patrick Cantlay last week, and for good reason. His odds opened at 25-1 by the time I went to go bet him on Wednesday. It was down to 16-1. I was like, no thanks for that. Stupid idea on my part. But I went full GPP fade. Now, it ended up biting me. I still had a decent week, but if I had Cantlay, I would have won a boatload of money. But I just, every time you get a player that's not DJ in a weak field kind of thing, I have no problems completely fading him. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I think more times than not, you're going to be right. How did you approach the situation?
I completely agree with you on that, Pat. And I'm mostly a GPP player. That's kind of where my mind is. And it didn't work out last week, but it's one of the few weeks that it doesn't work out. Golf is highly variant, and I talk about this in my column this week. I go deep into depth. because I still, even though it didn't work, I still stand behind the full fade in GPPs, knowing that half of the field owned Cantlay. There's only a few spots that he can possibly finish that would just eliminate you from any sort of chance at winning a GPP, and that's what happened. But even if you owned Cantlay last week, it didn't assure you that you cashed in even GPPs. 20% of people who owned them didn't cash in GPPs. So if you know a guy is going to be that heavily owned, I like the strategic fade in GPPs. I think it's the right play.
Well, do you think we can kind of mix that in this week with Rickie Fowler being the top price player and kind of being far and away the best player in this field? I would expect his ownership to be up because there's a lot of pretty good mid-range guys that you can fill out the rest of your team with. So it's Rickie Fowler up at the top. He's 11.8. Perez is 11.3. And the only other player above $10,000 is Patrick Reed. He's 10.5. I might not take any of those guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the ownership is going to be on Rickie. I'm estimating about 20%. The last 3 weeks, we've seen the top price guy kind of ignored. Last week, it was Finau at 18%. Before that, it was Dustin at 10, and then JT at around 10. So I'm not sure if people are going to gravitate toward Fowler or not. They kind of like the strategy of getting a few guys in that 9K range and rounding it out with a more balanced approach, and I think that could possibly be the case again this week.
So would that put you on to Fowler? Because I'm kind of torn on him in this situation where, it's an event that he doesn't normally play. Obviously, this is in Mexico at El Chameleon in Cancun. But, is he just going to go down there and party, try to make the cut, and not really care? Because it feels like that's something Rickie might do.
I think so. There's a big question mark. We haven't seen him since the President's Cup. He looked bad at the Tour Championship. He doesn't usually go down here, and I don't know why he is this year. If there's some sort of sponsor incentive or something, it seems like kind of a weird thing how he's going to mix in this event and then just play in the Hero in December, and that'll be it, because he didn't play in the WGC. So I'm not sure what Rickie Fowler, how focused he's going to be, and it kind of worries me. However, on the other hand, if his ownership, if people are going to ignore him, he's going to be owned by 10%. Like you said, he is the class of the field, and it's not really that close. I might be prone to roster him.
Yeah, we're going to have to kind of judge that on Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon, I'll update my cheat sheet on DKPlaybook.com and mix in all of the ownership projections from FantasyNational.com, which I think that everyone should go subscribe to, by the way. FantasyNational.com. Custom models, lineup generators, rolling stats, customizable stats. It's all there. And they do have live ownership projections, which change on the fly based on the number of people favoriting everyone. And I think that Rickie is an intriguing option, but I think I'm just going to go down to this next level in the sub 10K area. You got Hadley, Hoffman, Reeve, Woodland, Zach Johnson, Kevin Chappell. I really like Chesson Hadley this week. I'm worried that he might have some fatigue. He might have burnout. He's played 6 times in 8 weeks, but he's just been playing so well. And this is the sort of field where I can see Chesson Hadley winning.
Right. Yeah, he's been amazing. Each week I think it's going to end, and it doesn't end. The streak continues. So top fives in this field, it's pretty wide open for him to win. I think he's probably going to be popular at 9,900, especially with Webb Simpson not being an option right there. More people are going to just go down one peg to Chesson Hadley, and he could get some ownership this week. You mentioned a couple other guys in that range. Hoffman looks intriguing as well. Zach Johnson's a guy who doesn't come down here usually either, like Rickie Fowler. So I'm not sure why he's here, but it's a shorter course this week. Should play to Zach's advantage. It'll be high scoring if the winds stay down. So Zach Johnson is certainly a birdie or better guy at 9,100. You can pretty much rely on him to make the cut, I'm guessing. So he's a pretty decent option there as well.
And I can see Zach being overlooked. There are 4 withdrawals from this field that are still listed in the DraftKings system right now. You mentioned one of them, Webb Simpson, Ollie Schneider, Jans, Billy Horschel, who withdrew last week. He is withdrawn from this tournament, and Scott moving forward. However, you kind of hit on it. This is a really short track. It's less than 7,000 yards, and it is a par 71. So all the shorter hitters are sort of in play here, but the guys that I like from that top 10 in pricing range, I hit on Chesson Hadley. I really like our guy, Chez Reeve here, $9,200, and Kevin Chappell just seems hilariously underpriced at $9,000.
Yeah, I agree, and I thought last week he played better than his 20th place finish.
Couldn't putt.
He couldn't putt, and that's the common theme with Kevin Chappell, but he was lights out from tee to green. Off the tee was phenomenal. I think this is a little bit easier place to putt, and that's kind of comp it to the CIMB a little bit. Our phenomenal columnist Perry compared it to the Puerto Rico Open, Cocoa Beach, where the putting's a little bit easier. It's a resort course, so that could really favor Chappell if he's as dominant off the tee and to tee to green as he was last week. I like him because I think 9,000 is a really good price.
Stats for the week. What I'm right now are strokes gained approach, par 5 birdies or better. That's been a big correlation at this course, even though it's only a par 71. Par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards, strokes gained ball striking, and the wedges from some of these shorter holes. Now, there's no shot link data for any of this course, so we kind of have to project a little bit out, but looking at the course length, 100 to 150 yards wedge play for these guys is going to be super important, especially for scoring holes. And that kind of leads me back, as a guy I wasn't really thinking about was Zach Johnson. Lights out with the wedge, right, but not really great anywhere else. And actually decently scores on par 5s as well because he's so good with wedges. I don't even know if you tried to do it, but you kind of talked me into ZJ.
Yeah, I kind of like that too, because those are a lot of the stats that I'm looking at as well. He does score on par 5s despite the fact that he is shorter off the tee. The problem he ran into last year was his accuracy off the tee, and I don't even think that's going to be that much of a factor this week. So it's kind of intriguing. The only problem is he's had a long layoff, so you just don't know exactly what you're going to get from him. But I'm guessing a guy with his experience, he should probably be fine.
All right, well, let's drop to this $8,000 area because I think Bryson DeChambeau, Ryan Moore, and Scott Brown. Those are the guys that I'm going with. You can talk me into Austin Cook as well, just like I like the way that he's trending, but he's going to be like a lesser play for me. Those 4 guys are where I'm going. Are you going anywhere else?
I am. Jason Kokrak. 3 top 20s, this fall. Ranks 5th in strokes gained tee to green over those 12 rounds and 3rd in strokes gained total. Plus, he's been successful in this event before, T15, T16, T17. Long off the tee, I think he can score, and I like him at 8,400. The other guy is Wee Kim at 8,300 I like in this range. He's got 2 straight top 5s. We're using that comp to Cocoa Beach for Puerto Rico, and he took a T5 there as well. So high upside guy, not a cash game guy, but GPPs for sure.
See, you have no love for Scott Brown, former winner of the Puerto Rico Open?
Will you have money on Scott Brown for first-round leader bet?
I don't know if there's a week that goes by where I don't have money on Scott Brown as first-round leader.
It seems to be a significant trend with Scott Brown. He has been playing well. I'll give you that. And 8,000, I'm okay with him, especially for cash games.
And it's a shorter course, too, and that kind of lends itself more to Scott Brown than some of these over.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
And tee to green play. I mean, the only 2 rights I have to take a shot on some losers at the bottom of the card just for fun. But Bryson and Moore, man, I think those guys are gonna get it going. And if Moore can get his putter figured out, he's gonna be right in this, because out of all the players in the field, besides Rickie and Zach Johnson, he's probably the best with a wedge.
I think so too, and that price seems really good. I think we're getting a good buy on that. I like him. I think Bryson's going to be rather popular this week. I think he'll be more popular than Ryan Moore, just because people like Bryson, and he looked really good last week. And at 8,700, he'll be probably 20% owned. So I kind of like them both, but I would probably go with Moore in GPPs.
All right, and we get into this $8,000 to $7,500 level. The ones that I have highlighted are Luke List, Stewart Cink, who no matter how many times I ran a model or whatever stats, Stewart Cink just kept popping up. So I was like, screw it, old guys can win at this course. Why not Stewart Cink? I like him more than McDowell, who is the same price, and I know that he's going to be popular as a former winner here. I also went with Kevin Streelman, Bryce Garnett, who has a really good history here, Aaron Wise, and Ben Silverman and Ryan Armour. Ben Silverman, he's a Canadian guy. I don't really know much about him except for the fact that every time that I check a leaderboard during the swing season, he's on it.
Right, we talked about him a couple of times earlier this fall as a guy to watch. I owned him a little bit last week. He looked fine. He's 7,500 this week. I think he's a decent option. And it is kind of scary that I do like Stewart Cink this week, because I generally don't like Stewart Cink, but everything kind of lines up for him at 7,700. There aren't a whole lot of other options that I like around him. Streelman, statistically, he checks out amazing everywhere but putting. I had him in my core last week, and he just laid a complete egg. But he's played well here in the past with 2 top 5s and 4 appearances, and that price is really good. So I think cash games, he looks really good for sure.
What do you make of Griot? Because almost like sort of the Ryan Moores and Zach Johnson, like Griot's awesome with wedges.
Yeah, he is. Don't you think he's going to be somewhat popular here? He had a T10 last year. He's played pretty well this fall so far. Don't you think he's going to attract some attention in this range?
I don't. I just feel like
No?
It doesn't matter how he ends up finishing. It's usually disappointing for the expectations that people put on him. And I think people are just sick of playing him.
It could be the case. And if that is, I kind of like him. But, with the Scott Piercy withdrawal right next to him there, I think he's going to have more ownership than he had before. And Kevin Streelman disappointed a lot of people last year. So, and I think a lot of people are going to be in this 7K range with a majority of their roster, which is a reason I think Luke List is going to be extreme chalk this week, because 7,900 is just too low.
Yeah, I know, I agree. And listen, I'm going to play Luke List. I don't care if he's chalky or not. I play Luke List every week. And, 90% of the time.
For sure in the fall. I mean, he's Mr. Fall. He's got three straight top 20s, hasn't missed a cut, so he's giving you consistency. Hasn't missed since PGA Championship. And he's a guy who can score. So all of those things, I think you pretty much just lock him into your cash games this week, because you don't really care about ownership in cash games. But if you lock in like him, Kevin Streelman, and another guy who's, I think, grossly mispriced is Nick Taylor down at 7,400. You can afford 3 guys in that 9K range that we like, and you have one heck of a cash game roster.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. When we drop down to this next little level, actually, one guy I want to talk about, Aaron Wise, I mentioned. I like Wise, not as a core play, but someone I'll just kind of be using on the back ends of some rosters. I think that Ryan Armour is going to be fine here, and I think that everyone just kind of off of him. But he won, and he was fine last week, too. And this course is basically what sets up perfectly for him.
Yeah, I think so, too. I have him as a partial own in my core, so, yeah, I will have him in GPPs.
Below that, from the $7,000 to $7,500 level, you mentioned Nick Taylor. I agree. The guy just keeps turning out good performance after good performance, and his price never goes up. So it's almost like Charles Howell was, I think it was like 2 years ago, or John Peterson was 3 years ago now, that he would just make the cut every week and he'd be $6,800. It's like, just throw that guy in lineups. Perfect. So I like Taylor.
Sure.
Ryan Blom is someone that kind of popped for me in terms of course history. Ben Martin, just because of the approach game.
Yeah, well, he was one I was going to mention in this 7K range. I like JJ Spawn. I like JT Poston both at 7,100. I think those are good bargains. We've seen the dips for Poston, and we've seen him be really good. He looked great last week, so I like him and Spawn. If I were to pick a couple guys in that mid 7K range, I kind of like Vegas and Power, both at 7,300 for GPPs. Both can score. Both have a lot of upside as opposed to some other options in that range. So I will have some ownership of both of those guys, and those will round out my rosters. Not a whole lot that I like below that 7,100 range. Bo Hostler is a guy who was owned by 1% last week, but I think that changes after his second straight top 10. I think people might go toward him. He could be maybe 10%, which would be a lot for a $6,900 player, but I like him a lot. The other guy is another cut maker, Martin Flores at 6,900, not flashy, but kind of a PGA grinder, and if you can get a made cut out of a $6,900 player, that's not bad.
So last week I concentrated a lot on some of the really lowly price guys and picked like 2 or 3 of them, and I played 20 lineups and they were in like 6 or 7 each, and I think all 3 of them missed the cut, and that kind of really hurt my bottom line. Now I had some more balanced teams that were a lot better. Those were more stars than scrubs lineup, but I'm kind of diversifying a little bit at the bottom here and trying to get a bit lucky with one of these guys. So a few of them check out. So I'm going to be playing like sort of a splattering from this range. I mean, I'll have more Spawn than anything else because I do really like him, just that it's a misprice, it seems, based on the way, unless he got so rattled from his collapse last week that he just comes out and does nothing. But at $7,100, I'm fine with burning that spot. But Andrew Landry has been playing really well, just can't putt. Maybe that changes this week. Nate Lashley, someone you brought up to me a few weeks ago, I'm going to go back to him. Jason Bone has a really good course history. I'm not super confident in him whatsoever because all he does is withdraw level as well. Johnny question marks. Johnny, huh? He's $7,000. Rory Sabatini checks out well for me again this week. Jeff Ulrich brought this to my attention. Derek Fatauer, someone that could perform really well here. And Ted Potter Jr. is just really good with wedges. So I know he hasn't been playing well, but he ended the web.com season really well. I think that those are the guys I'm going to sprinkle some shots on. Probably no more than 2 out of 20 lineups each for any of those guys, and hopefully one of them pops.
I'm going to throw a couple more names to sprinkle in if you're interested. Steven Yeager at 6,700 has made 3 straight cuts after coming off the web.com tour this fall, which is pretty good. He's the lowest priced guy this week. Another guy is Oscar Frausto. He's a Mexican player who plays a lot in South America, has 3 top 10s in his last 4 tournaments down there, and he plays in this event, and he has the last 5 years, and he has a couple of top 15s here. So he's worth a small shot in GPPs if you're interested as well.
Also, if you click on his PGA Tour headshot, he looks like sad Garion Thorne.
I'll have to check that out. That's funny.
We had a picture in the office of him because he just he played on tour for like a little bit in a few events after this one last year, and he just dead last every single time, basically. And he became sad Garion, and no one could ever take him. By the way, Carlos Ortiz is playing.
Yeah, I saw that. Another Mexican player who we have talked about in the past several times because he's had some glimpses of greatness sparingly over the past few years.
Hey, he was the 2014 Web.com Player of the Year.
Right. I remember specifically talking about him for this event a couple of years ago, Pat.
I don't know what happened to him. I don't even think he's on the Web.com tour anymore.
Oh, he's been bouncing around. You see him every once in a while. Is he worth a GPP flyer for you?
No, but I just like to see him back. I was all in on him like 3 years ago, and he was so terrible.
He played quite a bit on the web.com last year. Didn't have any big finishes. He was just kind of hanging around. So I probably won't own him either, but it's interesting.
Last guy to throw out to you, I mean, you mentioned Kokrak. I can get on board with Kokrak as well. Russell Knox has such an excellent course history here. He's $8,500. Do you think that A, he's a good player, B, that he's going to be popular?
I don't think he's going to be popular. I've heard a couple other people think he was going to be popular. I'm not sure. He's been terrible, and he's been terrible with the part of his game that made him great. His ball striking, his approach game has not been good. He's not incredibly cheap. He's played well here. It'll be interesting to see when you talk about what's more important, tournament history or current form. This is kind of the dissection of those two things here because he's been really bad. Is he a great player who will be restored by the location where he's had success before? I don't know. I don't think I'm going to own him this week because of that. Although I want Russell Knox to be great again because I kind of like him. I like his attitude. He's kind of an animal out there, and I'm rooting for him. I won't own him this week.
All right, pick a winner. I'm gonna go with Ryan Moore this week at the OHL Classic.
Geez, I picked DJ on your show a couple of weeks ago, and it was ripping my heart out in the final round as he choked that away. I will give you. I'll give you Chesson Hadley.
What do you think of that? Listen, if that turns out well, I think that we're all going to win some money this week.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's been right in the mix. He's really, really close, and I think he could do it this week.
All right, that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Jeff Bergerson, thank you for being on the line.
Thanks, Pat. It was good to chat with you again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And tell everyone what they can expect from FantasyGolfInsider.com right now for golf.
Sure. I mean, we got everything that you need, articles, tools, stuff like that. Another week of golf, like I mentioned, the GPP articles by Zach in December. We're not that far off from the new season, which is when we see an influx of new people trying golf, coming over from football. They're looking for an alternative. So we got a lot of new money coming into DFS Golf, which is a great opportunity for people who work hard, do the research, know the proper strategies, and I think they can take advantage of it early in the season.
All right, so that's FantasyGolfInsider.com, and if you want to keep, pumping money into the DFS system, check out fantasynational.com. Become a member today. Everything you need if you want to do all the research yourself. There's no picks on the site or anything like that, but if you like to formulate and have your own methods and you just want an easy way to generate lineups, create a custom model, you can do that all on fantasynational.com. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me on Twitter at @ThePME. And remember, subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Podomatic Audio Boom, and Google Play, and always the video versions up on the DraftKings YouTube page. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck with the OHL Classic. I'll see you next time.